Well, here's a little update on the FJ. It's coming along, starting to figure out more parts and figure out where they go and install them. Wiring harness is a bit of a nightmare because the alternator looks like it wants to mount on that side, but the wiring for it's over here. So yeah, there's a bracket missing that goes right here for the alternator. But other than that, it's all coming together. Finally figured out how to time this damn thing. I'm looking for a timing mark on the actual harmonic balancer, and turns out there's a little cap right in there. You got to pull that little cap out, and then once you remove that little plate right there, there's a little needle that points downwards, and then there's a little dot on the flywheel that you line up, and that's top dead center. And then on your distributor, you have it pointed at cylinder 4, because that's the one on the, you have it pointed at, let me zoom out, pointed at cylinder number 4 on the block, because cylinder number 1's right there. It's a weird way to time it, and a weird way to go about it, but okay, it was easy to figure out though. Then got this side kind of ran and plumbed in its place. The smog pump used to be there, but we're seeing that the alternator will fit. The pulley doesn't really line up, so we're trying to track down the OEM bracket that's on the other side, put the smog pump right here, and figure out how all the bullshit for the smog pump, those hoses, and that little block. And there's a big rat's nest back over there in the corner. But other than that, everything else is coming up pretty nicely. Gas, brake, clutch pedals all installed. Most of the fuel lines are being figured out. It's a nightmare the way they have this set up on it, especially to route it all out the bottom. I got most of the wiring harness figured out under here, at least. I gotta pull the transmission tunnel to figure out where the one sensor goes. That sensor and a few wires. That's one of the fuel lines. There's the other fuel line. You gotta get a longer rubber hose for the brake line, because that ain't gonna work. And then as for the rear tail lights, those are all ran. But overall, it's coming together pretty nicely. Figured out most of that wiring and the one that goes up over there. Figured out the stereo and a few other places or pieces for the actual gauge cluster. As you can see, the spaghetti nest. And there's more. Probably got to take all those fuses out and clean the connections on them, because I doubt if they're going to make connection anymore. Still can't find the heater box. Well, we're able to find the brake lines, clutch line, and a few other lines that run across the top of the firewall, so that makes it a lot easier. Starting to source through most of this crap to figure out what goes where. Got to clean it all, figure out what's going to be visible so I can paint it and install it. Majority of all that stuff's door, window regulator, door handles, and all that stuff, so that's 90% of all that. That's all heater AC related. Those are all the lights, and that's kind of the random stuff. And that's the vacuum harness rat nest I got to figure out with solenoids. It's gonna be a fun one. And then as for the Jeep, still waiting on one more cylinder head and a set of head studs, but other than that, it's all stripped down. When everything shows up, I'm going to go through and take off all the rest of the chains and gears to replace all that, along with the timing chain kit. And that's the driver's side cylinder head gaskets, and basically every gasket I'll need, a water pump, timing chain kit, and somewhere around here, boom, head studs. I need another box of those though. But overall, this is an easy job. This one's almost finished. Just a little update of what's going on with it. It's looking more and more complete each day. Oh, and as for the whole fender situation, I had to basically loosen all the bolts that held this fender to the firewall, to the frame, and up front right here. Stick a pin inside there to oval out all, not necessarily oval out the holes, but to line up all the holes. Stuck a 10mm bolt through it and repeated the process all the way around. Got it to line up. And you're not going to get a better fix than that. That's as best as it's going to get, especially for being all warped and having a crack. For what it is, it came out pretty nice. This, on the other hand, I gotta pull that off and hammer this section up, and then on the back side, the actual plate that bolts flat against it, I actually gotta fold that out, so then it'll bend it up and it'll fit better in this section. See how far off it is? So I gotta work a little magic on that to fix that. Eventually I'm gonna get the cage bolted in, but I gotta pull the top off, get that seal in place, and a few other seals. Waiting on some paint to show up. Then I can touch up the rest of the other pieces that need to be installed. And everything else has turned out pretty decent. Post a little update what's going on. If you'd like to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good one.